Hi everyone, this is Skeptic Sage. I just wanted to let everyone know who doesn't know me that I'm an atheist and a skeptic. And you'll also notice behind me, you probably can't see it here, you'll see the golden Buddha in the back. I pretty much am not a fan of religion, but I am certainly open to any philosophy that I think can support itself logically and rationally, and I think in many respects Buddhism has done that. In some cases, some Buddhists have not, but many have. So I thought, since I am an atheist and I am a fan of Buddhist ideas, I am also a psychologist, and I've read all the research on Buddhism and its uses in psychotherapy, and it has been shown scientifically to work, some of its methods to work quite well, especially with prisoners and other mentally ill people. Mindfulness, which is a Buddhist concept, is used in psychotherapy all the time, and it has been shown to be as effective as other forms of psychotherapy as well. I think that there are a number of people on the internet, Captain Awesome, who, well, you just have to watch his videos and you can see what that's all about. But they seem to have a lot of misnomers about Buddhism, and I thought I would help to clear some of those up. Number one, the Buddha himself never claimed to be a god and never claimed to be anything other than just a teacher. He specifically did not preach any god. He specifically preached, in fact, that there was no knowable God. He specifically says this. It's in his writings. He said also that there was no self. He also said that there was no soul, and that there was no collective soul. He also said that there was no caste, that if you belong to a caste, it isn't real. If you belong to a role, if you do something for a living, the Buddha said these are all social fictions. And the Buddha said, embrace ignorance. Embrace the fact that you can't know anything. Sounds like an early form of skepticism to me, almost like a forerunner of science. So the Buddha was an atheist. He clearly went on record as saying this. He did speak about other gods and things that existed at the time, but he spoke about them as other people's beliefs, and he certainly did not advocate any kind of God worship at all. In fact, he went out of his way not to. The Dalai Lama, when asked about all of the gods that have been added to Buddhism after the Buddha's death, the Dalai Lama responded by saying that almost no one believes in any of these gods except as symbolic representations of psychological phenomenon or psychological archetypes or unconscious tendencies within people. So you might have a god of health or a god of this or a god of that. The Dalai Lama doesn't believe in any of these gods. The Dalai Lama is in fact an atheist, as are the vast majority of Buddhists all over the world. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, but wait a minute, I've read all this stuff about there being a Buddhist pantheon. Again, you need to understand that in many religions, they've gone through reform movements in which they've come to the conclusion that their gods are not real, that they're mythologies, and they just simply go on with all the philosophies. That's happening in the West. Christianity is developing a philosophical Christianity in which all of the theology and theological stories are going to be considered mythology. That's happening as we speak. I think, in fact, it's been happening for quite some time. You'll probably see my video called Jesus is a Modern Creation, which I believe. You might want to see that video. That's an example of that. In the Council of Churches that occurred in the 1800s, in which all of the churches around the globe, all the religions around the globe met, the Buddhist representatives there from a number of Buddhist faiths specifically said that they advocated the belief in no God. So you're talking about a religion that preaches atheism. So the question is, what is it about dogma? What is the dogma of Buddhism? And a number of people out there have been making statements about, oh, Buddhism says you got to give everything up and you have to give up desire completely. Well, Captain Awesome, you need to do some more reading, not just look at direct translations, you have to understand what those translations mean. If you read the Buddha's own words, this is what he said. It's something actually quite simple. He said that life as it is normally lived by the average person in India at that time, Nepal and India where he lived, is filled and is rife with frustration and disappointment. Most people live lives of quiet desperation. An American said that. The Buddha said that 2,500 years ago. He said that that quiet desperation, that frustration and disappointment is based on wanting things that we do not have and cannot get, and not wanting the things that we have and are right in our hands. So it isn't about desire itself being bad, it's about greed being bad for you. Not bad because it's immoral now, understand. It's bad because it makes you miserable. Also, the greed is, the desire is towards things that can't be gotten. Things like wanting to be something that you're not, wanting to be taller when you're short, wanting to be rich when clearly you've got no way of getting any money. What the Buddha said was if you get rid of the desires for things that you cannot get and things that wouldn't make you happy even if you got them, you'd be more peaceful. And if you were more peaceful and you were less grubbing after money and you were less greedy, you'd have less motivation to be evil. That seems pretty logical to me. Now, maybe that's not true in all cases, but that seems like a pretty good cause and effect theory at the very least. It also certainly has shown itself in the research. People who adopt a Buddhist mentality do tend to have drastic reductions in their anxiety. People who engage in Buddhist meditation can in fact cure themselves of anxiety disorders. This has been shown scientifically in outcome studies with psychotherapists. Captain Awesome went on to say that Buddhism causes stagnation in societies, and he then talks about the relationship, this difference between atheism and Buddhism. He doesn't seem to understand that both Buddhism, Shintoism, Confucianism, Taoism are all atheist religions. In the Far East, they don't believe in theological religions so much. They believe in philosophical religions. They believe in adopting a philosophy of life and what that will do for you. Now, there's a lot of superstitions that are believed in the East, especially by people who are peasants. Most of those superstitions are not believed by people who are educated, however. Educated people just make up a very smaller amount of population, at least in the past they did. Currently they do. But one of the things I think is very important is that Buddhism is the only religion that went on record very early on as not being against science. The Dalai Lama has said this: any idea of Buddhism that can be shown to contradict science should be abandoned. He said this repeatedly. That is extraordinary. I cannot imagine any leader of any other religion that has ever said that. Do you know of anyone who said that? And there's a book called Negative Emotions, or Destructive Emotions, excuse me, which was written by a psychologist whose name I can't remember. I will give you the citation later. And the Dalai Lama, in which he talks about research into emotions. The Dalai Lama actually read the research, which astounds me, that a religious person would read scientific research and want to integrate it into his religion. But those of you out there who want to whitewash all religions as the same, as all being evil, as all being manipulative, and as all being bad, that's not a good thing to do, because once an atheist starts calling all religions bad and claims that all atheisms are good, and we all know that there's lots of evil atheism out there, like communism and fascism and other forms of atheism that are totally dogmatic, totally religious, and totally evil. And yet there are good forms of atheism as well, including scientific atheism and apparently a religious form of atheism. I welcome anyone to challenge me. This is Skeptic Sage, reminding you that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I wish everybody peace. Take it easy.